Welcome to She Sells Radio. Have you ever met someone where you just feel like you connect with them instantly, and then within a few minutes, you kind of feel like you've known that person your whole life? So that's who I'm going to introduce you to today. And a while back, I was introduced to my guest, Jessica Papineau, through a mutual connection. And we have actually been meaning to record this interview for some time now. And I have had some crazy life events happening, and she's been so gracious to reschedule. And I'm so excited to bring this to you because who she is and what she does is so aligned with our community. And I know that you're going to just be blown away by her story, her wisdom, her insight. So I'll tell you a little bit about her and then we'll get into the conversation. So Jessica is the founder of CSJ, a leading authentic fashion styling company for high-performing female entrepreneurs. She's personally styled hundreds of women, which blows my mind, spanning seven-figure entrepreneurs, executives for billion-dollar global brands, online influencers with millions of followers, and professionals in the entertainment, sports, and music industries. And something else that I love about her, which I'm excited to dive into today, is that she recognizes that the up level is an inner game first and foremost. And so when we first connected, I found her approach to fashion and styling is really similar in a lot of ways to how I approach sales and business, which it's an inside out game. So if you love fashion, if you love styling, if you love up level, if you love, we've been talking in the pre-chat about like, this is just going to be vibey. If you love something vibey, if you love the inner transformation and learning from a really badass woman who has grown a successful company, you're going to love today's episode. So Jessica, welcome to She Sells Radio. I'm so happy to have you here.
Wow, thank you for such an incredible introduction. Truly appreciate you having me here, and I have been so excited to do this for I think we have had it planned for the last couple of months, but
6 months probably.
I'm all about timing, and I just
Yeah.
think the timing is right, and I'm just really excited to share just some great value and
Yeah.
great messages today to
Oh my
your listeners and your
yes.
following.
And we were, when we were talking in the pre-chat, I learned things about you that I didn't know going into this. So we were connecting on obviously both boy moms. Your boys are older, but we were talking about how awesome your home is when you walk in. It's like a studio, and then you've got the doors, and then it's boyland beyond there because everyone else in
Yeah.
your household is male, right?
Yes. And I know I guess I'll just dive right in because I do have to tell you because we didn't talk about this in the pre-chat. But when you walk into my home and you see, because it's my studio boutique of all my things, because as a fashion stylist, I have all the accessories, I have all the clothes, I have everything at my fingertips. 5 years ago, I closed my eyes and I saw it.
Oh, I just got chills when you said that.
Mhm.
Wow.
And it's
Oh
here.
my gosh. Oh my gosh. This is what I already love about you. Like, you get it. We were talking about this in the pre-chat. We speak the same language. People are going to get this. Our listeners do too. You shared something with me too at the beginning that I want to hear a little bit more about your backstory, because someone would look at obviously like beautiful aesthetic, beautiful woman. You've put together this incredibly successful company, and they may not know how you grew up. And you were sharing with me, you were born in Maine, which I didn't know because
Yeah.
we just moved to Maine. So I think that's really
Yeah.
cool. But you were sharing a little bit about some of how you grew up. And I am super intrigued if you could share with our listeners just some of that, whatever you want to share, and then how that maybe shaped you to become the woman who has gone on to launch this really successful company.
Yes. So Maine, I grew up with parents they were hippies. They were not fashion people. They did not care about any of that. They just simply wanted to live off the land. They wanted to be self-sufficient. They wanted to be off the grid. So I grew up in very rural Maine, in a home that was built, by my parents. We had no electricity, no running water, so we had a hand pump. We had kerosene lanterns to light our house at night. We had a wood burning stove, outhouse. And so it's kind of unimaginable to now, where things are in my business and what I do, to think back on that, because when I lived there, I always felt like I didn't belong because of
Mm,
the family I grew up in.
yeah.
And so I would actually, as early as 4 years old, I remember going in my closet, and my clothes were from Salvation Army.
Mm,
And I would take these pieces and make outfits out of them. I did this every single day. At that time, I was an only child.
wow.
And my parents would actually threaten to put a padlock on my closet door, because by the end of the day, all the clothes that were hanging were in a pile in the middle of the closet. But it was my happy place. I would put these clothes on. I would look in this full length mirror, and I remember it. Like, I can literally close my eyes and imagine it as if it was like yesterday.
Oh my.
And I would put these outfits on and make it like really fun and mix and match things and look in the mirror. And I just remember how I felt. I felt so beautiful. I felt
Mm,
confident. I felt this inclusivity. Like, I really like was talking to friends, and my imagination has always been my superpower. And so
mm.
it was my escape from where I was, because I wanted to be anywhere but where I was.
Oh my gosh.
And so I learned at a very young age how to have this imagination and how to, like, build my life, but in
Mm,
my imagination. But I felt though, as I got older, I felt like I was very superficial, because my parents were not into me being that way. They were,
yeah.
like, we had all our fruits and vegetables that we had a garden and then would can everything. And it was just a different way of thinking. So
Yeah.
I felt a little bit, actually, a lot of shame around my love of fashion. And
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I don't know whether you agree or disagree with this, but something I personally believe is I think we choose parts of our upbringing coming into
yeah.
the world to like help create the contrast that develops us. And so whether you or anyone listening agrees with that or not, what I'm hearing that's so interesting and powerful is that contrast and that almost like shame of, ooh, is it okay to be who I feel like I really am, right? It's like we
Yeah.
have those moments growing up where we learn to develop a mask and
Yeah.
we learn to sometimes be someone other than who we are to feel safe and like we fit in. And maybe I shouldn't say all. I'm wondering for you, did you go through a process like that where you were like, oh, well, this is my love, but I don't fit in with my family, so I'm going to do something else. And then you came back to fashion, or were you always just like, nope,
I
I'm
was
only.
always in it, but there was a shift that had to happen. I would say at age 40, I became four again.
Ooh. Oh, I think I know what you're saying, and I think I love it,
Yeah.
but say more. Yeah, say more.
Yeah, so I remember the time when I detached from who I was born to be, who I was designed to be,
Yeah.
because not just because of the shame, but who I felt my family and the people around me wanted me to be. So
Mm,
I let go of it. But I remember before letting go of it, I was in complete alignment.
wow.
I felt like I was living my purpose. And then it was very, I had a lot of trauma in my early years, and then my teenage years, I was very, very depressed because I detached from myself, really. And so fashion, what I wanted more than anything when I was a teenager was to live in a city and work retail. So I could really
Yeah.
get into fashion and like not only dress myself, then I could dress other women, right?
Yeah.
So at 16, I had an opportunity to move from where I was. My parents had divorced. My dad moved to Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, where he was from. And I had an opportunity to go and live with him. I did not have a close relationship with my dad. I simply wanted to get out of my circumstances and go live in this city. So, first thing I did getting to Winnipeg was, of course, I had to enroll in school.
Okay.
But my next thing was get on the typewriter, and I typed out my resume. And it took me a very long time because I had
Yeah.
typos, and I had to do it again. It was like the old one.
Oh my gosh.
And So then I put on my black skirt suit and nylons. And I was this like, small town girl. And I had to take two buses, like a city bus, to get to this mall. And I was determined, like I had to figure out, where do I get off? How do I get back on? So I
Yeah.
get to this mall. And to me, I mean, it's not the biggest mall in the world, but to me, it was. And so I walk in with my resume, I've got my skirt suit on, and I go and hand out my resume to all these stores. And I get to the farthest store on the second floor, walk in, give my resume. They hire me on the spot because I was just
Mm.
so, when you're so passionate about
Yeah.
something. And I mean, I never sold before. I didn't know what sales was. I just knew that I loved fashion and
Yeah.
I was going to put clothes on other women and make them feel amazing. And so I get the job, start my first day. Unbeknownst to me, I had been hired at a woman's plus size clothing store.
Mm.
So, my life had always been a series of roadblocks and me trying to figure out to find my way, right? And so this was another roadblock for me because I am this skinny, scrawny 16-year-old
Mm.
kid from a small town, and women coming in just looking at me automatically did not want my help. So
Right.
I see them walking in the door. I ask if I can help. The answer is definitely no. Then I
Mm.
see these women like coming in and like frantically grabbing clothes, going in the fitting room, and then coming out looking so defeated. There's a
Mm.
pile of clothes in there and they're walking out the door and they look so unhappy.
Wow.
And I thought, if they would just let me help them, I want them to feel good. And
Yeah.
eventually they would, I'd see some of them come out of the fitting room and try and look in the mirror and I'd see that they would look at their bodies and like try to cover everything.
Mm.
And over
Hmm.
time, I got to see how I would dress them. So in my imagination, I would fully dress each woman.
Wow.
And then it came to a day where I was like, okay, here's my opportunity. And this woman comes in, she leaves all the clothes in the fitting room, does that same thing, looking defeated. And I said, excuse me, before you leave, I noticed that you came all the way to this mall. You parked your car, you go to the furthest store, and you didn't seem to find anything. You
Yeah.
must have had a purpose. I know you said you don't want my help, but maybe if you could just give me a try, what do you have to lose?
Right.
And
Mm.
she was like, okay, I
Hmm.
guess. What do I have to lose? So that's where it all began. And I started to learn how to dress women and
Yeah.
women of different sizes, right? I mean, I had only dressed my body at
Right.
that time. And so once I learned and I'm putting like the fabrics on them and showing them how to highlight the best areas because
Mm.
I could see them. I could
Right.
truly see them in all of their beauty. But what a woman does when she looks in the mirror, and it doesn't matter what size she is, her eye goes right to those areas that she doesn't like, that she's shameful
True,
of.
isn't it? Yeah. Mm.
And that's all she can see. And
Wow.
so over time, these women would like come back and see me. I was top salesperson at 16 years old. I didn't know what selling was. And I
Yeah.
wasn't selling. I was just making women feel great.
Mm.
And so that was kind of where it all began. And I went off to college. I was in fine arts. I did not think retail was going to be, my path. I didn't think that's what I should be doing. And then I quickly learned painting that my canvas was not a canvas. It really was a woman.
Oh
And
my
and
God.
and
Yeah.
so my part-time job turned into a full-time position, and I was at 21 managing women in this clothing store. And they were between the ages of 40 and 55, and I had to learn how to manage that at that point. And really what I was learning how to do was how to not only inspire the women that I was dressing, but inspire women that were older than me
Mm.
to, really get into the fashion end of things, like the fun and and not just thinking about the bottom line. Because for me, I was creating something that was so attractive for other women to come in and see. So at that time, sorry, go ahead.
No,
Go
no,
ahead.
I love this. So I just want to pause there because one of the things that I think is powerful about you and the work you're doing is I know you're leading a team now. I can only imagine age 21, you're leading women twice your age, right? And you're also serving them as clientele. We'll get back into the story in a second, but what's one thing you learned about leadership from that you still take with you to this day?
Um, what I learned, and it doesn't matter what age she is. So I'll just real quick tell you a very short story about a woman. She was 45 that I was managing, and she seemed very unhappy, and her sales were really down because she didn't smile. Like she'd been in the business for a long time. She knew what she was doing, but no, her energy was off-putting.
Mm,
And so when it was time for me to do a one-on-one with her and an evaluation, I had filled out the entire thing of what she's doing well, what she
yeah.
isn't, the numbers, all the things. And I started doing this evaluation with her, and I was a bit nervous because it was like my first time. And it just I wasn't getting through. So I put my piece of paper aside and I said, Chris, I have one question for you. What do you really want?
Mm,
And she stopped dead in her tracks. She stopped talking, and it was like awkward silence.
mm,
And I said, I really want you to think about this, Chris. Like, if you weren't to worry about money, or if you weren't to worry about like what you should be doing, or because you've been in this for a long time, what do you really want?
mm.
She was like, oh my gosh, no one's ever asked me that before.
Wow.
And she said, I guess I'll just be honest with you. I've always wanted to write a book.
Oh,
And
wow.
she said, I don't want to be doing this. I'm
Oh,
sick of retail. And I
yeah,
actually did want to push her out. I
yeah,
didn't want her there because I knew she didn't want to be there.
right.
She said, you know what, Chris, I really think you should try that. I think you should, you're at your age, like I'm younger than you. At your
Right.
age, I would hope that you could live out your life living your passion and what
Mm,
you feel called to do.
wow.
She was like, I can't believe I have a 21-year-old who's just led me to realize that I
Oh
am in the wrong place.
gosh.
So, learning about
Love that.
leadership, it was learning about listening and
Mm,
also knowing, women work differently than men.
hmm.
And I don't believe you have to be a certain way at home and a certain way at work. I
Mm,
think who we truly authentically are and our gifts and how we show up is very fluid. So
yeah.
those gifts and being a high performer in all areas and being fully present, that needs to happen in all areas. That's
Mm,
probably one of the biggest things I learned. And I also learned that women they don't always reveal themselves, and they don't always want to be seen because there's some shameful parts and some
mm.
feelings of unworthiness, even when they're at a high level.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I want to come back to that because I actually think that's a really important piece of what you do. It's also the work I do with my clients. Take us to so let's complete this part though. So
Yeah.
you were kind of sharing the backstory, and I know you had said at one point, like at 40, you became four again, and it sounds like a lot unfolded
Ah,
for you. So take us to that point. Had you
okay.
like gotten away from fashion and styling, and then you like reawakened what you
Yeah.
really care about? Tell us about that.
I'll try to give Cole's notes here. I'm going to give just a little backstory on what led me to
Yep.
that moment at
Perfect. Okay,
40.
perfect.
Uh, so I moved to Sarasota, Florida with my because from Winnipeg, I met my husband there, got married, moved to Sarasota, Florida, used our whole life savings to get our house, to get ourselves set up. Ended up having another child. So I
Mm,
was home with the kids for about 7 years, and I did this kind of on the side as my side
yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
In 2011, my husband lost his job, and we
Mm,
didn't have a nest egg. We didn't have anything to fall back on.
yeah.
And so at that time, we were on food stamps, and we were also, or the kids were on Medicaid.
Mm,
And I had to go back to work at a boutique
hmm.
where I was out of the gate only offered $10 an hour, and I was paying the babysitter $12 an hour once my husband got back into work. And
Oh.
you know what? we could have lived off the system. I could
Mm,
have left that job. But I knew that I had this gift, and I started to get to that point where, because sometimes as a mom, you're like, who am I now? Like, do I really have something to offer the world, or am I just a mom? Right.
mm,
And so I realized getting back into the workforce that I had so much to offer, so much impact to offer women, to really show them how to show up powerfully and how to feel beautiful in their bodies so
mm.
that they could like get over themselves and be who they were designed to be.
Wow.
And so, over the course of 8 years of being in this boutique, my side hustle was going to their homes,
Mm,
curating their wardrobes, helping them put outfits together, showing them what pieces needed to be retired, and then them coming back to the store, working with me and strategically shopping for the pieces they needed to align with their lifestyle. And so I helped this woman in this high-end boutique. She pulled back from the business because I was taking over. And
mm,
so, retail, you don't make a lot of money.
right.
I was capped out as to what I could make. I had helped her build her business from 1 million to 3 million. And
Mm,
I was working constantly, 80 hours a week because I would work all day and then I'd go to my side hustle. And
wow.
slowly that was getting more busier and busier, but I never felt like I could really do it on my own
Mm,
until until
mhm.
one day I'm driving to work and Tony Robbins is on a podcast, and I'm
Yeah.
listening to him, and I can like remember it like it was yesterday. I used to
Wow.
always have my Tresemme hairspray in my
Yes.
cup holder and be at a stoplight, and like Tony's blaring, I'm spraying my hairspray to make sure the curls stay good.
Yeah.
And he says something that stops me dead in my tracks. And what he said was, and I had probably heard this message somewhere before, but the timing of it was just so right. And he said, when you have a gift to share with the world and you know how deep of an impact you can make if you're living out your gift and sharing that. If you know what impact you can make and that is the life you're designed to live, if you allow fear to hold you back, you are an extremely selfish person.
Oh.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know I was selfish.
Wow.
It got me out of myself to realize the bigger picture, that there was so much more, and that if I didn't take that step like I could on a small scale, continue to do what I was doing and spinning my wheels and thinking that I wasn't, worthy of doing something better. But it was more than that. It
Mm,
was the people and the women that would not be able to experience what I was able to do from them, and how I could help transform their lives. I couldn't give that big impact if I didn't take that leap.
oh, wow. Mm,
Once that happened, the shift, I couldn't unknow it. It didn't mean I wasn't scared.
yes.
I couldn't unknow it. Nothing was the same. I had a different lens of how I saw the world.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Wow. Wow. That for anyone who is stuck in like fear of visibility, and we've like, I know I've bumped up against this plenty of times, right? You like fear of
Yeah.
visibility, fear of shady stuff being thrown at you on social media, fear of leaving I use air quotes if you're not watching the video, the quote safe job to pursue your actual passion. That mindset shift of it's selfish not to do it, right? Out of the fear. That's incredible. So this was around 40 and you
Yeah,
like, go
yeah.
ahead and doing the thing. Yeah.
And it took me from that point 10 months to leave. So then
Wow.
I put all my plans in place at that time. And I leaned in to my imagination because once everything expanded, I could actually see it. Like I could see the big picture and I visualized it. I could see myself like starting this company and helping women and impacting them. I could envision them going from, being like, say, a stay-at-home mom, and then they're getting back into the workforce and They just need someone to help guide them and hold the space with them to get
Mm.
to that next level, to help close the gap between where they were and where they are to like next level where they're going so that I could close my eyes, envision them there and help them to literally and figuratively step into that woman that
Yes.
they are designed to be. I never wanted, once I could see it and like saw the light and saw the big picture, I thought, gosh, I wish I didn't wait till 40. Or I wish this would have happened at 20
Mm.
or 30 even. But
I
it
bet
happened
you
when it
would.
was supposed to happen because, we're, as you know, Rory Vaden says,
Yep.
we are perfectly positioned to serve the woman or the person we once were.
Yeah.
And so that's what I began to do.
Yes. Wow. We're gonna speak. We will. I am actually gonna ask you like a styling and fashion question. So for everyone who's
Yes, I know. And I'll give you,
you'll
I,
go
I'm
there.
going to give it away
But
too. I have a formula.
I love, okay. Oh, that's beautiful. Amazing. I want to ask first, you have mentioned this several times, and I'm really curious how you do this. So you've talked about your imagination. I love that you own it as a superpower because I think it often gets like knocked out of us as kids that we shouldn't be doing this. We shouldn't be in our imagination. You also shared at the beginning of this interview that you closed your eyes 5 years ago and you saw your space as it is now. I'd love if you could take just a minute to talk about how you visualize. If you, I don't know if you like do it intentionally every day or if it's more just like when you feel inspired, but what that process is like for you. And then just any tips for someone who's really inspired by your power to see what's coming and to create what you visualize, who maybe feels like they struggle with it or they don't do it right. Like just anything you'd say there, I think our audience could really benefit from.
I think because of how I grew up and I didn't have the visual stimulation of like a TV, and I
Mm,
also was in a very rural town. All I had was imagination. So it
mm,
forced me to use that muscle. So
mm,
really where it started was because I loved stories. I absolutely love stories. I would create my own stories. I would even record them on a
mm,
recorder when I was like 8 years old. But I used to listen to, it was called Spider's Web, and it was children's stories
mm,
that I could listen to. That was instead of television. And so when I would hear the stories, I would close my eyes and I would see the picture
mm,
playing because I couldn't see it on a TV, right? And so
mm.
that's where I learned how to do it. But
Amazing.
then I leaned into the because I'm a creative. I'm like high creative. And so with painting, when I was involved in that, and I used to do creative writing, it all involved that visualization. So at
Mm,
a young age, that's how it became my superpower, is I used it. Now, and I think along the way, being deprogrammed and getting into like the everyday life of what I should be doing and just kind of like going through the motions of life,
mm,
I think I did at some point kind of suppress that, and it left me a little bit.
yeah.
But once I reignited it, I took that skill and I use it in a very intentional way every day.
Wow.
And
Okay.
how I do it, and this will kind of get into fashion at the same time.
Awesome. Love it.
Um, I do something every day and every morning that I call get up, suit up, show up. It's a speech that I've done. I used to speak to groups. I haven't done that particular one in a while, but the get up, suit up, show up really is all about like setting your intentions for the day. And I know everybody is, really speaking about this right now, like your early morning habits and all the things. I've done it for a long time. And for me, it's about from my intentions for the day of what does the day look like and how is it going to play out, and
Mm,
giving myself that pause and closing my eyes and envisioning the day unfolding. But
mm.
then it also, I know this is like, this
You're speaking my
is like
language.
my life. I never realized
Yeah.
how different it was than like how some other people
Mm.
kind of formulate their day, but that's how I do it. And then at the end of the day, I do a replay in my mind of the day and how does it line up? And were my intentions met? Did I stay fully present in those intentions?
Yeah.
And if I didn't, why did I get out of it? And it always has to do with two things. Number one is I tried to control an outcome that I had no control over, which we talked about. And number two is I got caught up in self.
Ah,
I got caught up in negative messaging, and I
mm,
didn't step outside myself to impact and give service to someone that truly needed it in
mm.
the right way, in the deepest way, because I was caught up in self. And
Wow.
so reflecting on those things, that's what sets me up for the next day with my intentions. And so
Oh,
that I can continuously grow, keep the needle moving forward, but also continue to impact on that deep level. Because when I'm in that space, that is when the magic happens. Like that is
mm.
like I feel the frequency and the energy level just go up, and I can bring people, other women into that frequency to live their best life. And then, so get up, suit up is taking that intentional time to care for yourself, to
Mm.
after you do your workout in the morning, because I believe you have to move your body to get things going. You have to put the right messages in. That's my podcast that I listen to. When you go in the shower and you have that moment of today's day 4, should I or shouldn't I wash my hair? Make the intention to wash your hair, care for yourself, care for your body, shave your legs if you're wearing a dress.
Mhm.
If it's a Monday, go in your wardrobe, pick out your best outfit and put on and suit up in your best outfit for that day so that you can start your day where you can look in the mirror and you can know how beautiful you look, and you can fully, instead of focusing on what you don't like, you've put the intention into what you do like and that you're worthy of wearing something amazing on a Monday. So you can fully step into your power and get over yourself and share your gifts with the world.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That is, and one of the words that you've said over and over and over again that I want everyone to hear is intention. Intention. Like I can tell you're a very intentional person. I think a lot of where people go wrong is they think they're at effect of everything outside of them. And what I understand about how you approach styling too is it is all about setting that intention, right? For who am I, not only how do I want to look, but who am I going to be? And
Yeah.
show up. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm guessing here.
Yeah.
Let's speak to, I wish I had like 2 hours with you. Like, I
I'm
feel like we're
sorry. This
talking five
happens to
minutes.
me. I get
This is,
into it and I
I love this. No, I think what we'll do, I think it would be really fun to have you come in and speak to our mastermind this year. So we'll connect on that separately.
okay.
Because I'm like, I need this woman for more time. But let's do this. So we've got a couple minutes here, and I also want people to have time to learn about your community, your app. You've got an
Yes.
amazing download that people can get to. Um, Most of our listeners, and we've got a really diverse audience, which I love and is
Yes.
great. Many of our listeners are going to be female entrepreneurs, sales professionals. They're driven, they're ambitious, they care about succeeding in work. They're probably like spiritual to some level as well. They
Mhm.
want to earn from like 6 to 7 figures typically, and they really want to create. Many of them are creating a different life than they saw modeled growing up, which clearly you did for yourself. What are some of the top, like if you could give them any sort of styling, fashion
Yeah.
advice? I don't know if this is where the formula fits or not,
Yeah,
but
this is the formula.
what do we need to know for women like this? What do we need to know about styling?
Okay, well, let me try to do it as like at the highest level, and then I can give away all the things so that everyone
Beautiful.
can go and get the
Yeah.
details. The first part to my formula is review and reflect. And
Mm,
that's where, that's that inside part, right? That's the envisioning, that's the point at which I can hold the space with her to formulate and really see what she truly desires and even give herself permission to go there. And that's when I can close my eyes. She can tell me where she is, how she feels, and I can see what she's wearing.
mm,
Once we do that and we really set the goals for where she's headed and the woman she's designed to be, That's when we walk in the wardrobe. And from there, we're really assessing and then eliminating what's no longer serving her. So
Mm,
many women have pieces in their closet that they're hanging on to that's part of their past and has no business being in that space. It's holding them back from where they're going. So the way that I make that assessment is four things. Um, well, first are the three F's: fit, fabric, fashion, and then does it align with my lifestyle and where my life is headed?
mm,
So, fit, does it fit me right now? If it doesn't belong there. If you're in the process, if it's too small, you're in the process of losing weight and it's a great item, put it in a bin and move it from your closet. It doesn't belong in there because when you go in and you see that item and you think you're actually motivating yourself to lose weight, you're actually body shaming yourself, and that's not what we want.
right.
Um, and then number two is fabric. And is the fabric intact? Has it been overwashed? Does it have pills on it?
Mm,
Um, are are we worthy of wearing something better than this? And there's
yeah.
ways to tell if it still is intact or not. And that's in my wardrobe edit blueprint. So I highly suggest everyone go there just to really understand how to know if it's still a good item. And then fashion, is it in fashion? And there's some very, I know it may sound kind of broad, but I teach women a very easy formula for that.
Beautiful.
And then does it align with my lifestyle? And then
Mm,
from there, really determining, taking inventory of what's left and what is really going to work for you moving forward. Create a core wardrobe of pieces that not only are, incredible fabrics and that are, that they're really foundational pieces that will take you season to season. And then I teach women about the cake and putting on those foundational pieces and then using icing, like the pieces you
yeah.
put with it to round out the outfit and to really highlight your best areas and your best features and then do some strategic shopping.
Mm, got it.
So that's how I work. I work with women either virtually. I have 50% of my clients are locally here in Sarasota,
Mm,
Florida. 50% of my clients are all throughout the United States and a little bit into Canada.
that's great.
And so we're actually in the process of creating a membership and a styling app. And
Yeah, speak to this. This is great.
yeah, it's very different than, than what you would think. And it's taken some time to really, like I had my vision for what it was, but I've done a ton of market research. And many of the women that I work with, these are some of the things they've said about going through the process with me. They're where they want to be in their life. It's changed. They've closed the gap quicker. So if they wanted to start a company, they've started a company and it's exploded very quickly, quicker than they thought.
Mm,
And they determined that to be the fact that their confidence is elevated and they've gotten over themselves and they're doing
yeah.
their thing. Their relationships are better. They're able to be more fully present with their families, with their children, going on date night with their husbands and really feeling connected in that way. And then just overall in life, feeling more aligned, connected, and experiencing joy. And
Mm,
so I wanted to bring this to a larger audience. So I asked my clients that have been with me for a long time, or even some that just started working with me, what do you love about the service? And, they say things like what I just described. They also say saves them time. They feel more confident, all the things. And then they also have been saying something that's really interesting. They've been using the word community. Like,
ah,
really?
mm-hmm.
What makes you say community? And so what I'm hearing is, well, so many incredible women because the women that I attract, it's much like who you're serving, Elise. It's that high performing woman. She wants to be the best version of herself in all areas. But when you connect these high performing women all together, this is where true innovation happens. And it levels everything up to it's really magical. And so now I've been able to do this in Sarasota, Florida because I have my space and we bring these women together. We now are going to have a platform where it's like limitless. And so I just can't wait to bring everyone in. It's a three-tiered system. And we're basically, I've come up with a digital course, a DIY of how to do this on your own if you're not going to work directly with me. And that's really the first tier. Middle tier is really you get the course, but you also get to be part of the community and connect with other women. We're going to be doing summits, live Q&As, all kinds of really cool styling demonstrations. We'll have women in the beauty industry coming in, live guest expert speakers, women like yourself, Elise, that can offer, the mindset. And really, because I'm going from like the outside in, and we need that inside piece too. These women want the holistic approach, and I want to give it to them.
Yes. Oh, wow. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. I love how you shared community because that was in our group too. I was like, I was surprised when someone said, we need that, like, and we want that. And that's one of the most valuable pieces because I don't know, we go off and start something because we love it. And then I think just because of who you are and your level of energy and your heart, you're going to attract amazing women. So I love that you've created this place and this platform. And so I know that's coming soon. Is there like do people just need to get on your email list, or what's the easiest way to find out about
Yes.
that? And then
So what
maybe,
I what I highly recommend is number one, getting the free wardrobe edit blueprint, because that's going to give you some really tactical, actionable steps that you can take today in your wardrobe to begin the process, because you really have to get that action going, get that momentum going
yeah.
to shift your mindset into thinking more about the future and what you desire. And then also we do have a wait list, and I can give you the link to that. People that sign up for the wait list they're going to have the first option of getting in to the membership. And so there'll be some benefits to that as well. I also offer a free styling call. So anyone that desires to level up their fashion and really do some transformative things in their life, and wants to know how can you work with me,
Mhm.
reach out, because even if the timing may not be exactly right for the one-on-one, there definitely is a place where I can meet you where you are. I
Mhm.
believe every woman is worthy and that deserves taking care of herself and feeling beautiful. We should all feel that way.
Yes. Wow. Oh my gosh. I just love you. I just
Yeah.
love you. I'm like, wait. I really would love to just have you stick around for another hour and keep going deeper. I know we're going to collaborate on a lot of things coming up, and I'm excited. So for my listeners, you can stay tuned. Obviously, we'll link everything in the show notes to get the styling edit, get on the wait list to learn about the community, Jessica's app that's launching. And I think you'll also see us doing some exciting things. I actually have a project I'll tell you about offline where I think it would be really cool to loop you in as well. So you're amazing. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for being here. There's so many other things we can talk
There's so
about.
many things. I have so much more that I want to tell your
I know.
people. We will do it again.
We will. We'll have to. But thank you again. I
Thank you
genuinely
so
appreciate your
much.
time and your heart. Yes. To you, my listener, wow. I told you it was going to be a powerful conversation. And I learned so many things myself today, not just about worthiness, right? And styling. How do we cultivate that wardrobe that helps us step into the best of ourselves? We talked leadership. We talked about imagination, the power of visualization. So many great things from this conversation. Go connect with Jessica. We'll link everything in the show notes. Thank you, as always, for being a listener on She Sells Radio. And I will see you on our next episode. Bye.